Volunteers we've had, the organization we've had out here. So we can't help but be a bit optimistic.
Joining us now, Ron Bonjean, who served as communications director for former Speaker of the House Dennis Hastert, and Alexandra Acker-Lyons is with us, a Democratic strategist who served as the National Youth Outreach Director for the John Kerry for President campaign. Good to see you both. Thanks very much for coming in. Ron, let me start with you. Ron Paul, can he do it?
Well, that's a really good question. He might have a very good apparatus at the Iowa straw poll right now to pull it off. And he very well could. We'll just have to wait and see. Nationally, though, he's going to face a real struggle against the titans of the campaign, Mitt Romney and Rick Perry, who just jumped in, who aren't even on the ballot. So if Ron Paul does pull this off, it's really going to hurt Michelle Bachmann's momentum, and Tim Pawlenty's going to have to think really hard whether or not he can stay in the campaign.
Alexandra, you've worked on campaigns. You know how important it is to have a certain level of enthusiasm among supporters. And I got to tell you, I'm in the sort of the chat rooms here at FoxNews.com. I get a lot of emails and tweets from Ron Paul fans. The level of enthusiasm for this guy is as high as it is, if not higher than anybody else out there. How important is that?
Well, it's very important, especially in a state like Iowa, where you have just a really unique political and organizing situation. It's a real test of strength for the caucuses, too. This is kind of a dry run for all of these campaigns to see how many of their supporters they can get to actually turn out. You know, I never saw anything like Ron Paul's campaign in 2008. You would see his bumper stickers and signs in some of the most unlikely places. But I think that his presence is louder than his base. I think a place like Iowa, in a straw poll, is someplace where he could do very well, but I don't see him having the support, even if he pulls off a win today, to be a serious contender nationally.
Why is that, Ron? Because Alexandra makes a very good point. He has this core base of supporters who are so enthusiastic, and yet, you know, he has never won a caucus. He didn't win any delegates in 2008. How come he can't break through?
Well, I think it's because he doesn't have first of all, he doesn't have the national organization set up to enable to, you know, get the people out, get the money raised. And second of all, his message caters to a very almost libertarian part of the Republican Party that's almost out of the mainstream Republican establishment. And so he's going to get a core support in Iowa, but nationally, he's not going to have that kind of a following.
Alexander, let me ask you as a Democrat, you know, is there a feeling, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of Democrats would love to see a Ron Paul, stay in this race for a long time, thinking that they would have no problem, that President Obama would have no problem against a Ron Paul in a general election. But are there any Republicans competing in the straw poll, or Rick Perry, who announced today officially that he's in the race, that really strikes fear in the heart of Democrats?
No, you know, 6 months ago, I would have said Tim Pawlenty. He was the Republican I most feared, a moderate governor from a swing state, a nice kind of folksy cadence to him. But he has run so far to the right, courting the Tea Party, and has proven to have a not terribly successful campaign, that I no longer have any fear about him. You know, none of these Republicans really strike me as a real threat to the president. Even Mitt Romney, I think his flip-flopping on issues over the years is going to really turn off swing voters, middle-of-the-road voters, and I don't see the Republican Tea Party base being energized by his candidacy. You know, Rick Perry, I would love to run against another Texas governor. I don't know that I can stand to listen to him for very long because he sounds so much like George Bush, both his accent and his policy positions.
Now, be nice,
you know,
Alexander.
the more the merrier. The more the merrier. I'm feeling pretty good about the president's reelection right now.
You know, Ron, I talked to a lot of Republicans off the record, and they all say that there are really only one or two GOP names out there who they really, truly believe are electable in a general election. Want to go on the record here and tell me the one or two or three or however many Republican names that you see out there who you really honestly think can beat President Obama?
Well, I got to tell you, President Obama is so weak right now with the high unemployment rate and just low approval ratings across the country that, you know, there are a number of Republicans that could take him on and win. And frankly, you could probably put a ham sandwich against him and come out pretty good in the polls. Right now, I would say Mitt Romney